everyone, and welcome to Tammy's Yarn House. Today's tutorial is a 3D blanket stitch. It is a fun stitch to do, very easy one row repeat. It is double crochets and chain spaces. Okay, first things first, slip knot on our hook. I learned how to do this this way as a child. You do it however you feel comfortable. This pattern is worked using multiples of 3 plus 1. So I'm going to go ahead and start chaining up 21, which means I'll chain up 22 chains. That should give us a decent swatch so that we can see what this blanket or this stitch will look like. Okay, here we are towards the end of our chains. And we're going to do 22. There we go. Now we are going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. I like to go into the back bumps because the edge of my work will be cleaner, neater, and if I want to put a border on it, my V-stitches are there. I don't have to invent any. Okay, so we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. And we will make a double crochet in each chain. That is going to be our row number 1, our base row. All right. So if you want to continue to do double crochets all the way down the line, I will meet you at the end. Okay, here we are at the end of our first row, and we are going to chain 2 and turn our work. Now, we are not going to work in this first stitch. This chain 2 belongs to that first stitch. We are going to work a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and that is how we will always begin our rows, with half double crochets, and that turning chain counts as a stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3 half double crochets. Then we will chain 3 and we will skip 2 stitches and work in the 3rd. And from the top, you'll see we'll skip 2 stitches and we'll work in the 3rd. And we are going to work 3 double crochets together in that same space right here. 3 double crochets together, a little cluster. There we go. Now we're going to chain 3, and this is what we're going to do all the way down the line. We're going to skip 2, work 3 doubles in that 3rd, and that's how we are going to do row 2. Work double crochet clusters in the same stitch. And every time you finish a cluster, you will always chain 3. There we are. Now if you want to finish this all the way down the line, I will meet you at the end. Okay, here we are at the end. We're going to skip 2 and work 3 half double crochets in the final 3 stitches. That's how we're always going to do it. You're going to start with 3 half doubles, and we are going to end with 3 half doubles. And that turning chain is considered a stitch, so we're going to put a half double into that. And there's your first or your second row. Now don't be worried that this is crooked. It's meant to be that way. Your stitches need to pop out, so they need room to do that. And that's where that extra space up there looks like you have comes into play. All right, now here we go. We're going to start row 3. To start row 3, we're going to chain 2, and this is going to be our row repeat right here. Now again, remember we're going to do 3 half doubles. That belongs to that turning chain, so we're going to do 2 half doubles in the next 2 stitches. And that will be our 3 half double crochets in the very beginning. And we're going to chain 3. Now we are going to work into these spaces, and we're going to work always in that first double crochet. We're going to go through that space, and we're going to work a back post double crochet around that first one. If you turn your work, you see right there, and it automatically naturally folds over, and that's a good thing. So just pinch it, pinch those two together, and there we go. Now we can start working 3 double crochets around that post, and that opens up a little hole right there for us. So we need to put 2 more double crochets into that space around that post. And after our 3 double crochets, we're always going to chain 3. Okay, so let's look at that. See how that turns? That's what makes your 3D effect. Let's do this one more time. We're going to work into that space, do a back post, pinch your work because it naturally folds over for us, and we can work our 3 double crochets. And you always want to make sure it's behind your work and not in front of your work. We're always going to be working behind our project, and it seems a little fiddly, but give it just a couple of rows and you're going to be a pro at this, trust me. And we got 1 more double crochet, and after a double crochet cluster we're going to chain 3. Alright, here we are at the end of row 3. We're going to finish by putting 3 half doubles in those last 3 stitches. Looks like a lot to skip over, but don't worry about it. Go ahead and put your 3 half doubles in those end stitches, and remember that turning chain counts. That turning chain counts. So here's our first, and the second one, and in the very last turning chain at the top of that, put a half double crochet. Well, you might have to wiggle it a little bit. Alright, 3 half doubles to end, and there's row 3. It's coming together. Now let's start row 4. We're going to turn, chain 2, and then turn our work. And if it's a little difficult for you to find that top of that turning chain, pop a stitch marker in there. And you can always count backwards from the stitch marker to make sure that you're getting those last 3. Right? Remember, this turning chain belongs to this stitch, so we're going to do a half double in the next 2 stitches. There we are. There we are. And see how that stitch marker can clearly help you find the very end. Because if not, your project's going to go a little wonky if you don't work in the last 3. All right, we're going to chain up 3, and we're going to work in the space again, and we're going to work in that first double crochet. Not the one that sticks out, not that one, but the one in behind. And we're going to do 3 double crochets, just like we did before. We're going to do a back post. It's going to naturally fold over, pinch your work, and there we go. We're going to work 3 double crochets into that space around that double crochet from the row below. And after we've done those 3, as always, chain 3. Now let's take a look at this. See, that 3D effect is really coming into play. Let's work into the next space, into that first double crochet. There we are. Yarn over into our space and do a back post from the back. See that? Pinch your work and put 3 double crochets around that post into that space. And that is our 1 row repeat. Working 3 double crochet clusters and chain 3. There we go. We'll chain 3 and keep doing this all the way to the very end, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, here we are at the end of row 4, and we're going to put our 3 half double crochets in those final 3 stitches. And here is our first. Here we go, and let me get some yarn. And our second. And our third, when we end the row, is always going to be in the top of that turning chain right here. Wiggle, 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 it'll go in. And our third half double crochet. And that's our pattern repeat right here. You are always going to start out with 3 half doubles. Then we're going to chain 3, work a cluster of 3 double crochets in that post below, and just alternate that all the way down. And we're always going to end with a chain 3 and 3 half double crochets. And you get this wonderful little 3D effect that goes with this. It's a beautiful blanket. Now there are 2 rows left to finish this project. Okay, 2 rows left. So stay with me and I'll show you how to do those last 2. Okay, I did a few more rows so that you could really get the 3D effect. But here we are, we're going to start our first of the 2 finishing rows. So we're going to chain 2 and turn. And as always, like we've been doing, we're going to do 3 half doubles, right? Our turning chain counts as 1. So we're going to put 2 more half doubles. And then we are going to chain 3. And we're still going to work into the space and around this double crochet post. We're still going to do it, but we're going to work 3 double crochets together. And what that looks like is we start out like we always do. Our work comes together, you pinch it, right? You pull over. We've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to pull through 2 and stop. We're going to yarn over and go back into our space. Pull up, pull through 2. Now we have 3 loops on our hook. For the 3rd time, we're going to yarn over, go through, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and when we're left with 4, we pull through all 4. That is 3 double crochets together. Now we're going to chain 3, and that's what we're going to do in each of the spaces all the way down to the end. We're still going to go around into that space, back post, pinch your work, and we're going to do 3 double crochets together into that space. So go back through, pull up a loop, go through 2. We've got 3 on there now. For the 3rd time, yarn over, pull up a loop, go through the first 2, then you go through all 4. And do that all the way down the line, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, we're going to end this row by putting 3 half double crochets in the last 3 stitches like we have always done this whole pattern, with that final stitch in the top of the chain 2 turning chain at the bottom. There we are. And that is our next to the last row. We've got 1 more row to go, and I'll show you that now. Here we are, our final row. We've made it. We are going to chain 3, and that counts as a double crochet. We are going to turn our work, and we are going to put double crochets all along the last row. So where we would have put half doubles, we're going to put doubles. So this first stitch, that belongs to that chain 3. We're going to work a double crochet in the next stitch. That turning chain and these 2 double crochets, that counts as our 3. And where we would have chained 3, we're not going to do that. We're going to put 2 double crochets into this space. And then a double crochet in the top of that 3 together we did below, right there. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the chain spaces and then 1 double crochet in those posts right there. And I'll meet you at the end. Okay, here we are at the very end, and we're going to end it like we always do with double crochets in the last 3 stitches. So that's 1 and 2, and our final stitch is going to be in that turning chain right there. That's the wiggle, 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 and that is our final stitch. And this is your 3D stitch, and it has a very cool effect. It's just has a lot of give, squishy, and it can expand, and it's pretty cool. I hope you have as much fun working your project as I did mine.